So, the plan for today. Um, so, on the Trello board, you guys will see week 2, Tuesday and Thursday, is really this week all about going through the webmaster training and starting to get this website configured. Just as a little preview of what it looks like now. Obviously, there's not a whole lot set up on it. It's pretty unconfigured. We haven't imported the content yet. I believe the plan is to do that early next week. So we'll be importing all the current content from your website over to this website, so then we can start entering anything new on both of them, and we'll see all that content on both, so that'll be a smooth transition. But for now, the main goal is to really start getting that set up, and before we get that set up, understand what we're setting up and how you can customize that for Morning Sun's needs. So, did everyone get a chance to go to MTechU and log in and see some of the training content we have there?
Yeah, I worked through a couple of the modules.
Good. I know we're just starting out and we're moving fast. So everybody's got a busy schedule. I know it's hard to get around to that stuff. But that stuff is important to kind of get your feet wet with these ideas and stuff we're going to be going through. So we're spending less time going over the basics and more time getting these things done so we can get them done together instead of having to scramble to get things set up in time outside of these workshops. Ideally, we use these workshops to get everything set up, and then we're done. We don't have to plan for any other time. Hey, Melissa. Okay, so starting today, my plan is we can go through a demonstration section where we'll kind of take a look at Anvil, take a look at all of the webmaster content, see the different configuration options we can do, how those kind of play out, answer any questions along the way. Hopefully some of this looks familiar. Hopefully you guys get some ideas going through it as to what you're going to want on the Morning Sun. Then once that's done, we can start working on this checklist. You'll see the first day here, we have a healthy checklist. The second day, we have even more set on there. We can spread that out if we need to, but the goal being we go through this and then we start knocking those out together so that we can make group decisions, and you guys have my input there if you have any questions about how any of those work, so that you guys aren't in the dark doing any of this. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Perfect. So this first section, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk through it. But then following that, I'm going to let you guys take over so that one of you are going to share your screen and you guys are going to do the configuration yourselves. I'll just be the side chair. So you'll have to decide that amongst yourselves who's going to take that, or even better, we could swap screens every so often so that everybody kind of has to get some experience in that, and it's not just all on one person. But to start us off, here we have the training website. Everybody got credentials for this, same credentials you use on your website, so everybody can log on here, mess with anything to their heart's content. This is a good spot to test any changes first. So if you want to test any styling changes on how the website's going to look, as you can see up here at the top, Southwest News for You was the last person to test those changes. You can change however this looks, however you want, and get a feel for how that's going to look without messing up anything on your live site. So on here, the first thing we're going to go through is designing pages. So here's our homepage. A lot of the content on here can be controlled or changed depending on what you guys want, how you want the Morning Sun's new website to look. You'll always see this Anvil icon in the bottom corner. This is the staff access on the website. Normal users aren't going to see this. What it holds might vary based on everybody's roles, but starting out here, you guys are going to see this full list. Going to Anvil admin accesses that side, but we're really looking at the different edit options today. The first one I'm going to look at is designing this page. This is how we design the pages. This is how we can edit how the Morning Sun's homepage is going to look. You can see that each of these options up in the corner, you'll see wrench and pencil icons. Essentially, each of these is what we call a snippet. A snippet is an editable section of the website. So we'll see this top leaderboard ad is a snippet. We could change this leaderboard ad to a different type of ad. Maybe we want a larger drop-down ad. Maybe we want a different type that we have pre-scheduled with the sales team to sell for this spot. Maybe we have a different piece of content we're having here entirely. Instead of an ad slot, maybe we're doing something special or a special section that's going to come out. Really, the end goal here is these are changeable based on what you guys need and what you guys want on the website. As I scroll down, you'll see more of these mixed between the content. This one has an ad slot in it. Looking at an actual live site, we'll give a little better example of how that can be configured. Looking at the Statesboro Herald here, we can see they have an ad on top. They have the default articles on the sides. This is the top article on the website. It might be pinned. It might just be the last article put out. And here's the second, third, and fourth, and fifth all lined up. So if a new one comes in, it'll push them down the list. One of these could be pinned to, again, put it back up at the top. Scrolling down, they have a jobs section put into this snippet here. We could change this snippet on the training site. As an example, we have an Ask the Expert section here instead. An example of how we can customize these snippets to be the content you want here. Some people have a weather widget here. Snippets really, we can have predefined snippets that we've created, but we can also insert third-party code into these. So if you have a business partner that might want something on your website, maybe you have a deal with weather.com to have a small weather.com advertisement and a weather widget above it so that it always shows the weather for your customers, but they also see that weather.com ad underneath it. That's the type of thing we can do with these snippets to customize them. Does this make sense to you guys? I know I'm throwing a lot really fast.
Yeah, all good. Okay.
And just as a reminder, I am recording this just for everyone's edification in the future. I can put this up. Everybody can watch it whenever they want in case in the future or even next week we're looking at, oh, how do I configure this thing? That's how we did it last time. That'll give us a good base for the training to go off in the future if we need any changes. Now, As we set up these snippets, let's say I'm going to change one of these snippets to a different snippet from the list. You can always see what the current snippet is based on which one is set as active. Say I change that to a different snippet. I put an ad here instead. Now, here on the page designer on the left-hand side, this is what's called a cluster. All of these snippets together, this page's design is a cluster. Right now, it's on the cluster crypto test. Until I click save, that change I made doesn't save. I can just click exit, and it's going to go back to how the snippet was before because I have not saved this cluster, this layout. Now, if I did save this layout, you can change between several different layouts. So you can have pre-set up layouts, maybe the sports section. You want a leaderboard snippet that you have set up with a local business or a local school that says the leaderboard of all the most recent games on there. That's the type of customization you can do on different sections of the Anvil web pages based on what you want in different sections. Now, these clusters can all be pre-set up, but using this page designer, we can make changes in the moment as well, and we can always test them out, not save them, and click exit, and we're going to see this one's going to go back to what it actually was. That's what customers are seeing live because I never actually saved that into that slot. Sorry if my internet goes a little slow whenever I'm sharing on here. My internet speed always kind of drags down a little bit. Okay. So we can customize all these different snippets on the website, design these pages to be however we need that format to look. Now, on an actual live website, how that might look can vary. You'll see that some snippets, we see this skyscraper ad right here, right next to the top article on the website, most recent article or pinned article. A prime advertising slot, that one cannot be edited. That's part of the default design of the page. You'll always see that because you don't see a wrench or pencil icon in the top left of that. Same with the articles in the content itself. You're not going to see a snippet, wrench, or pencil up in the top right because those are not snippets that can be changed. They're a set part of the default layout. And then there's the other sections, like the top jobs we saw earlier. There's an ad here. Here they have a video tour of a farm from Christmas. Continuing downward, this block here is part of what we call a content page break. So as we scroll through articles, there's going to be another content page break. We scroll through articles, another content page break, scroll through 3 articles, another content page break, so on, so on, so on. Part of the infinite scroll design of Anvil, this content page break is going to keep popping up as we keep going down through that content. This, again, like the other snippets, is fully customizable. I would say this is probably the most important snippet on your website because it controls a lot of the content people are going to see from your homepage. We can customize those elements to be shown multiple times. So, for example, here, they have this video to be shown twice before moving on to showing a special section. And then moving on, the third item on here is the default where it shows 3 articles and ad. And then that's going to keep going infinitely, 3 articles in an ad. This is an important part of the website design. So we can set up a default, but it's something we're going to want to think about as to how you're going to want those set up. Other people have in the past, as an example, set up special content maybe they want for their first section, and then Here's an example of showing local businesses that might be sponsored. Maybe they're paying for being presented. And then just simply showing an ad. There's a customer that mostly sold leaderboard ads. They wanted more leaderboard ad space. Here, as an example, they're showing continuous leaderboard ads with their content because that's the ad slots that they sell. Again, customizable based on what fits Morning Sun's needs and what content they want to show. You don't have to place ads in here. You can place different content here based on what you want to show your customers. Okay, does the snippets in page design make sense as to how we can customize what goes from the blank Morning Sun page once we bring content into here to something more like the Statesboro Herald, where we have snippets and article content being shown to all the customers?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And again, I know I'm putting a lot at you, a lot of stuff that you might not have experienced before. Some of you might have some experience with setting up things like this on a website. Some of you might not. So that's perfectly fine. The more questions, the better. So don't feel bad about stopping me at any moment. I know this can be very overwhelming, which is part of why I like to record it so that we can always take a look at it later. Okay, moving on from setting up those snippets and how we can design them. Outside of that, the bulk of our website is within the pages section. Each page on the website, each place that a customer can go to is housed in this nested pages content. You can get there right from the base of the website if we're on the Morning Sun. If I go to the Anvil admin dashboard, again, we can go to pages and see all that nested content. From the homepage of the Morning Sun, obviously not a whole lot of content here, but we're going to get to that. You'll see the Add Child Page button. You'll see this within each section. You'll see this within each subsection. You'll see it here on the homepage. So if we click this button, this is going to give us all the different page options for the website. We're going to see as we're going forward. I'll move over to the training website real quick just to show that later on, as we go into editorial content next week, most of that's going to be centered around article pages. Obviously, most of the content on the website is articles for customers to read, but that content can be very varied. So during the editorial content, it's going to be mostly focused around these article pages. Taking a look today, we're going to see the variety of different page options that can be placed and how you might need those. The most common one right off the bat is the section pages. So we're going to need to set up the sections on the website, whatever that top level menu is going to be: sports, lifestyle, cooking, whatever your top level menu items you want to be in there, as well as subsections, which again are another section page within that section page. So we're always nesting that content. We can make 4 sections deep. Each one can have different articles, and those can organize that content differently for your customers in drop-down menus. But we have section pages. We can have author pages. These are sections of the web page that showcase the various authors on the website. So we can have an author page that shows each of the authors. If you click on one of those, it'll show their article history. It'll show whatever brief bio that you want to include on that article on there. This could be a page that authors themselves control, or something that is controlled from the top down We have different media pages. So we have image pages, document pages, video pages based on different media types you might want to put on the website. For example, different videos you might want on there. You might want a video gallery to go through. You might want a document in case maybe local elections coming up and you want a test ballot to put on the website for people to see and print off to get that experience. Maybe it's their first time voting. We have those different media types on here. We also have expert sections. These can be used to house multiple creators on the website and navigate through those expert sections. An example of which was the one we had here on the training website. So we have different expert sections. I can click on one of these and it's going to be go to this fictional Ellis Farm Fresh Meats local section where they can determine the content on here. This could be decided based on potential business offerings, maybe a partnership where they control this, or it could all be controlled internally. We have flat pages or HTML pages that are more customizable. HTML pages, we could paste in HTML content, maybe that we got from a third party that we're working with, or if you have someone internally who knows some web design, they could fully customize a page using HTML. We can also add in stuff like staff directories or forms. Forms being probably one of the more common ones you might need depending on the situation. Maybe you take in wedding announcements on your website. You could have a form where a customer fills that out. Different elements in that form they might need to fill. So we can add different fields to that form. Maybe the first one's a radio button where they're picking between a couple different options. Maybe they have to select a date. Maybe they're entering in multiple lines of text to describe the situation. Here we can have a predetermined form that the customers go to and fill out. And when they submit that form, it gets delegated here to Anvil so that you can sift through all those forms. And maybe that's how you put some of the content from the website into the newspaper or vice versa. Okay, so we covered how we can customize those pages, how we can customize the homepage, some of those page options that we can use to customize the website for different needs we might have, like forms, where maybe we need content from the customers. We need them to fill this information out so that we have that information we can provide, whether that's a wedding announcement or obituary information. However, we need to gather information from customers. Form is the go-to way to pull that in besides typical email communication. Is there anything along these lines that you guys are experienced with your website that you're not seeing here, or that you were interested in how you would do something along those lines on your website?
We haven't been able to do anything like that with our website.
Okay, good. New tools is always a good thing. So I know this is probably going to be a little new the first time somebody makes a form. Then we can definitely Thursday, if you guys have any ideas as to a form that you want on the website, we could definitely run through one together as a demo. So I could help you guys set one up so that you get a little experience. You can use that one as kind of a tutorial for something that you can do on the website in the future going forward. But really, the goal here being, I'm going to show you guys a lot of stuff. And then we're going to start setting up some of this stuff. And if you guys determine some needs that we have, like maybe there's 5 different forms we need on the website because we need to start getting some information from customers, and this is going to make that easier. We can set up that in these workshops so we can kind of get that stuff out of the way so that once you guys have the website live, it's good to go and you guys don't need to make those changes by yourself. Okay. On each on each page, here we have this form page. There's a couple different options. I'm going to jump over to an article page just because it has a little bit more options so we can see the whole width. Content being the main one. Each page obviously is going to have content on it, whether it's a basic page like an HTML page where it just has one big text box so we can paste HTML in, or an article page that has a lot of different options. There's also a couple other tabs though. We have the promote tab that allows us to set some more options that are default. So when we create an article, it's going to automatically create the slug, which is the part of the URL there that it shows. So if you want the slug of this one is like an article page, there's some more content on the end there so that you can edit that. So you want something to be specific. Maybe you want to have it tailored exactly to how you want that link to look. You can control that. Otherwise, it's going to create a default one based on the title. In the settings, we also have a little bit more nuanced controls. We can schedule publishing of those articles. Maybe it's a seasonal article for voting and we have an expire date. It only lasts a certain amount of time. Then that article goes down because they don't need it anymore. We're going to have another one next season for voting, so we don't want that same article up multiple times to confuse people. Or maybe it expires and then we're going to use it again later for the next voting season. We can also schedule go live dates and times. So maybe we want to schedule these all in advance. We don't want to be pushing up publishing live. We want to schedule them so that they're always going to be launching when we want them to launch. We're creating those in advance. We can set go live dates for pages so that they automatically go live maybe on Valentine's Day at midnight or Valentine's Day at, if you want a Valentine's Day special, you probably want it launching in the morning. So maybe midnight the day before Valentine's Day, we have a Valentine's Day special that pops up on the website. Looking down, there's also some privacy options. So you can set pages to be default to a certain privacy. Maybe we have a special page that only specific customers can get into. Maybe it's like the form page. Sometime we're trying to get information from customers. We direct them to this link. They have to enter a password or have certain permissions to get into it. Or maybe it was originally public, but then we took it down. So we just made the entire page private. We also have some other options. So we have promotion dates. Maybe 6 months from now, we want this article to pop back up to the top again. We can set a promotion date, or we can always come back into an article at a later date and set the promotion date. So that essentially brings it back up to the top of the list chronologically, kind of like pinning the page, but it's a set scheduled date. We can also turn on or off in-story ads. So in a situation like an obituary where you don't want ads in that content, you can turn off that setting entirely for this specific page. We also have different paywall settings. So maybe we want it behind the paywall. Maybe it's content that we want free to open access for everyone. Maybe we're running a voting special and we want that content not behind our paywall. We want everyone to access that. We can set those settings here. Do these different settings we can use on these pages make sense as to how you guys can manage the website in different ways? I know some of this is getting into editorial content. We'll have other people going through down the road. Okay, good to hear. Okay, moving on. I know we got a lot of content to go over, so I'm just going to keep rolling unless we have any questions. So the next section I wanted to take a look at, which again is going to be a big part of this configuration for our website, turning the plain Morning Sun website that currently doesn't have a whole lot on there because we haven't started configuring it yet, to make it have the look and feel that we want for the Morning Sun. This is going to be under the Anvil section, and it's going to be styles. So a style is what I like to consider a theme for the website. If we edit the default style here, we're going to see the primary colors, the neutral colors, the page body colors, the font options, the background, overlay colors, all the different elements here, even breaking news banner. We can run a breaking news banner just as an example. Make sure I'm on the training website. Here on the training website. Go to notifications. Sorry, I should have set one of these up in advance so we could see what it looked like. And have a link to the home page. I'm just going to end at a default of tomorrow, 24 hours. Okay. So here now we have an example of a breaking news banner up at the top. I configured that real quick, but we can add an image in there. Here's the text, the description, the link to go to the story that I have connected it to. For here, I just connected to the homepage. But this is another example of the customization. Here it fits the default red theme that we have set up here, but we can set this up to look however we need it to look. At the end of the day, this style section, again, theme is how I like to describe the styles because this determines the overall theme of the website. Your color options that we're going to want to look at, however we want to configure that. I think a really good way to test this out, I think on Thursday is when we have the styles on the list, but is doing this first on the training website. Like I said before, we had someone else set one up here. We can set up a theme here to see how that's going to look with content. Right now, it's kind of got this dull gray in the background, dark gray banner, red banner on top, red logo. We can set that up however we want that to look on the Morning Sun so that we know in advance how that's going to look when we import that content. Next, we can get that rolling. We can get that set up in advance. Now, with that said, these styles are page specific. So this default style is going to be across the board. But let's say the sports section has a local team that has gold and black colors. Maybe we want the sports section to fit the local team's theme, and we change everything in the sports section to gold and black. We can set styles to different pages. So if we set this style to the home page, everything that falls nested underneath the home page is going to be that default style. Then if we create another section, and that section has a different style, everything nested under that section will be under that new style. So that way we can set different sections to be different themes based on how we want that to look. This gives us a little bit of flexibility in how we want individual areas of the website to look. Maybe sports is always my go-to example. Maybe we want sports to look a little bit different. We can set it up to be that way if that's something you'd like. Sarah's typing right. I'm gonna wait until she posts anything before I move on. But is there any other questions around style? I know until we start actually changing those colors, it's kind of hard to predict what kind of questions you might have, but we'll dig into that next time. Good question. We can't schedule style changes. You'd have to change it at the time. So maybe December, we want to switch to a blue and white snow themed look. We'd have to hop on December 1st and change the style on the homepage so that everything would follow suit, or come in here to change the default. But we can get those preset up so we can have the styles pre-made, and you just have to come on and change which one is currently assigned. Then maybe you could have a variety of different themes based on spring, summer, winter, and then you could just swap between those on a button click. Okay. Moving on to the next section. And again, slow me down if I'm going too fast. Otherwise, I'm going to keep rolling. Don't want us to get backed up with too much content because I know we're on a pretty aggressive configuration schedule this time. Next content I wanted to talk to you guys about, which is going to be our first thing to cover on our list. We have users and groups. A user on the website is a pretty generic term, but a user is everyone. So I'm a user on the Morning Sun's website. You're a user on the Morning Sun's website. A random guest that just walked to the website, just typed in morningsun.net. They're a user on the website. Everyone at the website is a user. Now, there are very vastly different ranges of users. Going here on the website, I'm going to use myself as an example because I know my email. That's going to bring me up. Mason Pearson, mpearson at morristechnology.com. You can click edit on these users. Again, this could be a new employee you just hired and you need to set them up with a user on the website so they can access it. This could be a customer that just strolled into the website. Maybe their subscription's not working and circulation's handling them. Maybe it's a third party you're working with that needs access to the website for some reason. This is everybody on the website. Registered users are going to have names because they registered with the website and put in their name. Other users might not because they haven't registered. They don't put in their name yet. They don't have any special permissions. Now, when we find the user, we click on the user. That's when we get to the information that we're actually going to talk about. There's the basic information, changing their password, things like that. Customer service more likely to handle that type of thing. Profile is something they're entering. Now, roles. This is where it gets to configuration elements here. Each of these roles are preset roles that we've entered as a default, but these are fully customizable roles. The permissions are reporter, editor, circulation, or paywall bypass is completely changeable based on what the Morning Sun wants these roles to do. And we can change which roles we have. So I'm going to move over to groups now that we've seen those users. These are those ones we have, but we can always create new groups. Just as a quick example of an extremely simple group, I'm going to open up Paywall Bypass. This is a default group for a user on the website. Could be somebody who works with the website but doesn't actually work on the website. Unlike an author, it could be maybe someone who works with I'm drawing a blank, but it could be anyone who works with the website but doesn't actually make changes to the website. The only thing this user does is it gives them a bypass to paywall restrictions. So if, let's say, somebody who donated a large amount of money to the Morning Sun, maybe their user gets a paywall bypass for life because they made this extraordinary donation and they're not going to have to go through normal subscription means. This can be used for a multiple different reasons, but it's a default here on default because it's typically used for staff purposes. Maybe you have other staff in the Morning Sun that you need them to be able to access the website and be able to see content outside of this. Maybe you're setting up a test user that you want to check out articles with, but don't want to have to create a fake subscription for that test user. We can use paywall bypass to essentially go over the paywall without having to create that subscription. The other ones are based on employee permissions. So groups are essentially extraordinary circumstances, not for customers. If some customers on the website, we don't want to give a customer reporter permissions because then they're going to be able to do things like create an article on the website. These are strictly, I know that might sound obvious, but these are strictly for employee situations or extraordinary circumstances like the paywall bypass. Taking a look at the basic reporter permissions that we have set up in here as default. There's going to be a lot of permissions in here because there's a lot of different things you can do on the website, ranging from circulation to webmaster setup like we're doing right now. The setting up the main menu and the flat menu, setting up expert sections are not things that reporters typically need to be able to do. So most of these are going to be blank. The only thing I have on here is being able to see the pinned pages. I think the editor's permission group can actually pin the pages themselves, but reporters can only see which pages are pinned. Same with authors. They can see the authors, but the editor's permissions actually let you change which authors are in there. We have circulation permissions. Every employee group has the bypass paywall permissions because we're assuming every employee gets free access to the website. Can access Anvil admin allows every employee with that permission to see this employee side of the website. So they can come to the Anvil admin dashboard. We don't want customers being able to get to this side of the website. Only employees in these permission groups should be able to access that. Then we have actual permissions reporters would need, the ability to add or edit a page on the website. Here I have it just set to the root, which means the entire website, but we could set up these page permissions. Maybe this group is sports reporter, and the only pages that people in the sports reporter group can edit are pages in the sports section. We can set that up with as much specificity as you guys need. But again, I have these default ones set up to be broad as possible. The goal of setting up the permissions as a group will be narrowing that down to what you guys actually need instead of keeping it at that broad scale, unless the broad scale is what you want. Likewise, we have permissions for other elements they might need. Images, if you're creating articles, you're going to need to be able to upload images to the website, potentially media files, which would be audio or video, or documents, which could be a PDF as an example. Whenever we change those, we can click save, or in a situation where you don't need a group anymore, you can delete it. But typically I would remove a user from that group instead of deleting it outright. As you can see, this reporter group, everybody who got permissions on the website at first has been put on here. Several of you are administrators, which means you can access every part of the website. Really, as the webmaster roles, you really need to be able to access every part of the website, because otherwise those configuration options won't mean a whole lot if you can't see them. But as we go through those, again, the goal of setting up those groups and permissions are setting them up to what you guys actually need. Like we have the circulation ones pre-set up from when we went through circulation to set up for what they need. Do permission groups and users make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I think it all makes sense.
Okay, good to hear. Okay. Moving on. The next couple items I want to look at here, authors. I'm going to pull this up on the training database so that we have some examples here to look at. Authors are the authors of articles you'll see on the article. So if we have pre-made authors for everybody who writes for the website, here we have my example, Clark Kent, profile picture, a bio, a Twitter handle, their title, and their name. This is the information that's going to be displayed on the article when they select their author when creating an article page. I wrote my article, I select Clark Kent on there so that when someone's reading it, they're going to see my face, they're going to see my name, they can click on my name to go to my authors page if I have one. The authors really are essentially the creators of the content. This could be used for other content, such as photography. Maybe you have an author for photography so that they can link their content that way to an image gallery. But typically, these are used for connecting articles to their creators. Whatever content listed here is publicly available content. So if an author doesn't want a picture in their profile, we wouldn't want to attach pictures to these. If they don't have a bio, don't want a bio, don't have a Twitter handle, don't want a Twitter handle, these are things we would leave blank and not include, and they just wouldn't be displayed on the website. I think authors are pretty straightforward. We can do some cool stuff with author pages so that we can see, we can click on Clark Kent's author page and it's going to show everything he's written. So if somebody's a fan of the writer, they can follow their writing. Maybe they have that bookmarks that they're always seeing what that writer has wrote recently. But in standard, it's a pretty simple concept. We have an author, here's some content about them. Does that make sense? This is something we might want to set up in advance together if we have a list of authors, or at least set up the first couple together either today or Thursday so we can get some experience doing those so that you guys, if you have a new author, you guys can set one up without needing any assistance.
I guess the Morning Sun's pretty close to the Daily Planet.
I don't know if it's a superhero thing, but I feel like every other superhero is either a reporter or a photographer or works at a newspaper. There's something with superhero mythology where they're all in the news business.
Every Hallmark movie is full of ad rep or sales reps. So that's a tough crowd, man.
Silent today. Okay. Moving on. We have notifications in here as well, which we briefly went over with the breaking news banner, but there are some other notification options. And as we roll out the app in the future, that's going to expand notification options. Right now, we only have the breaking news banner. This is on the training website. We can integrate with MailChimp or Second Street accounts. If you use those to contact your customers, maybe you use those with the user lists on here to push out communication to your customers whenever you're trying to push subscription sales or some other way you're contacting them, like newsletters. Once we get the app rolling out as well, there's going to be push notifications so that maybe you have a big new article you want to push everyone to. You want that pop up on their phone. We're going to be able to have that option with the app once we, after the implementation, roll on to the app implementation. What else do we have? Okay. I was talking about the media content on the website earlier, setting up different images, galleries, videos, documents into pages. We also put all of that content on the website because it has to sit somewhere if we're going to display it. In Anvil, we have media, images, and documents. These are the sections that hold that content. So most users that are staff are going to need access to that, whether they're writing an article, they need to be able to put an image for their article up, they're going to need access to images, or if it's setting up a more advanced image gallery that would require a little more complexity. We can upload those. Pretty simplistic concept. We're just uploading the file and setting a name and other images for it, such as my Clark Kent example. We can set authors to those, like I mentioned earlier. If we're using authors for photography at all, we can set authors to images so that it links that photographer to that article. And we can also use collections. Collections are what I like to consider pretty much like folders. They're nested sections that we can enter images into. So maybe at the base level, we have a sports, lifestyle, whatever all our top level menu items are for our sections. And each of those might have their own image galleries so that a sports reporter only has access to the sports collection because he doesn't need to be editing all of the pictures that we have on the website. He doesn't need to be editing a video that we put up on the lifestyle section. He really only needs to be able to access that sports content. So we can set up collections for each section. This could also be expanded to add a little bit more interesting elements on the website. Maybe we have an image gallery, and just as an example, maybe there's a local sports team. Every game we take 20 to 100 pictures while at the game and upload them to the website into a collection titled what do we got locally? We have the Parker Vikings. So we have the Parker Vikings 2026 football schedule. That's this folder. Every time we throw more images into there, if that collection is linked to an image gallery, every time we put pictures into that folder, they're automatically going to be put to that image gallery. So we can use these collections, these different folders of images or videos or documents to not just organize the content and give permissions to the content, but also display the content to customers. Really easy way to make image galleries if we're just setting it based on a category like this year's football schedule, and then we're throwing images in there, they're automatically going to that gallery. Or we can also do that with tags. Maybe we're setting a tag on each image that says Parker 2026. If a customer searches that on the website, they might find it, but we can also do that on the collection so that every image with the tag Parker 2026 is automatically in that image gallery to kind of allow you guys to make content easier. I don't want you guys to have to go to that image gallery every time you want to add an image to it. and set it in there. We can set these to be smart by tags, by collections, by other elements like sections, so that it houses content without you to constantly have to add content to it, as long as you know the logic behind it. I know collections are a pretty simple concept. They're basically folders, but does it make sense to you guys how we can use these for permissions or to display content for customers? Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay, moving right along. We have a couple other sections of the website that you might need for different purposes. The next one we have to talk about is redirects. Essentially, you're creating a redirect from one location to another location. So maybe we have a new running a new section every once in a while, and we want to redirect from a previous URL that we used that we're not using anymore to the new article about it. Maybe we have an old thing about voting. We want them to look at the new thing now. So we have set up a redirect on the website to go from one URL to a different URL, or we can just directly access that page. Again, pretty simple concept, but a tool you guys are going to have in your disposal for configuring the website and managing it on a regular day-to-day basis. Another one we have is promoted search results. So this lets us set up search terms or phrases on the website for different pages. So maybe if somebody searches for voting, we want them to get that immediate search result of our voting diagram for 2026. So they know that that information that that customer needs. They didn't come here and search for voting to see some information about ballot boxes. They wanted to know about our vote guidelines that we were providing to all our customers. We can add those promoted search results to the website so that when people are searching, it automatically sorts that and gives them those important results that we want them to get. Another option we have, one with a little bit more complexity, is global scripts. These are essentially scripts that we can put into the website that will display content. So I got an example for us. If I go to dawsonnews.com, which is another Anvil website, and sorry again, my computer runs a little slow when I'm loading up these. We can see there's a video here in the bottom left corner with a little box I can use to close it. We can set up content like this using global scripts to enter third-party advertiser content into the website. So maybe they have a video pop up that they want to run on the website that they're paying for, or something along those lines. They give you a snippet of code that you need to enter into the website so that it's being displayed. We can always test that on the training website first to make sure it works right before our customers are going to see it live. But then we can use a global script to enter in that content, and then it's going to be displayed on the website. We can always disable and enable these. So maybe we have a default one created, and then we turn it on and off whenever the advertiser is paying for it. This allows you to do things outside of the typical schema. So on Statesboro Herald here, we had those set snippets that they got to work by. This allows you to overlay things on top and do things that aren't within the bounds of those snippets. The Dawson daily expandable advertisement up here is another example of different things you can do with those different ad slots. Okay, moving on. Next items here are some of the first things we're going to set up in our configuration together. We have the main menu and the flat menu. The main menu on the website is that top level menu everyone's going to be familiar with on a website. So here we have news, life, sports, obits, special sections, a test one, a submission to a form, then eventually our privacy policy and terms of service. Here on the main menu, sorry, my internet's starting to drag a little bit. Here on the main menu, we have each of those items. So essentially this main menu is setting up that top level menu. We have that first item being news. We have a set text of news to override the default, which is just the name of the page. We can select whether or not this has a submenu. So whether or not we get more content popping up down here. If we look at these ones, you're not seeing those pop-ups because those options do not have that selected. This is probably a form, so it wouldn't even have a subsection. But we can also set it up with subsections within it. So news just shows, it's going to show the most recent news articles in that section. Life has subsections that has additional content. So it has an additional list within the list. Again, we can customize those options, whether or not we want it to do that, whether or not we want it to open a new tab. If it's not a website, not a thing on this website, maybe we're working with a local group or local university to go directly to their voting news for the new voting season. Maybe we're going to enter in a custom URL to their website here that's on our top level menu. We can enter it in purely by the URL instead of selecting the specific page on the website. Hitting up and down on these, we can move which order we have them displayed. Essentially, main menu is your top level menu to configure however you guys want that set up. Now, the flat menu is a little bit more complicated. There's multiple flat menus on the website. The main one we're taking a look at here is the top header menu. It'll be labeled right of account links. If we click edit on that, we'll see the different elements here. You'll see about us. And if we go to the website, we'll see about us up here at the top. So this is the elements that are to the left of the user's account. By default, they're going to have a logout. They're going to have an account that they can click on to see their subscription and any information with their account. But we can add other links to the top up here if they're of vital importance. This is typically where you put elements that are relatively important. They're going even above the top level menu all the way up at the top. These are really the basic navigation of the website we can set up, which is why they're two of the first things we do, getting that top level menu and flat menu set up how you guys would like it. Does that make sense? I'm assuming these are probably elements you guys are probably pretty familiar with. You probably already have a good idea of what you're going to want in these two areas.
We're going to figure it out.
Sounds good to me. And I mean, several of these items, when we're going through this configuration checklist together, hopefully we get some time today, and then Thursday, that's pretty much going to be all our time. Some of these you might not know right away. We might get to the top level menu and you have some questions you're going to have to ask the extended team because you're just not sure what we exactly want there. That's fine. We don't have to do them all immediately. We can always move that card to the next week and deal with it once we're ready for that one. Okay. The last section I want to show you guys today is a big one, but one we're going to kind of gloss over a little bit because there's a lot of content in it. So if we go to settings, we'll see several different settings down here at the bottom. You'll see app settings. This is for configuring the app, which we won't need until later on because we'll be implementing the app after we implement Anvil. We have website settings, which are going to be setting up different elements here on the website. Then we have template settings, which is setting up some of the different templates on the website. Just as an example, when somebody hits the paywall, what message are they going to see? You guys are going to want to be able to customize that to be messaging specifically to the Morning Sun customers. You're not going to want a default message that everyone on the internet sees. These are the locations that we customize these elements. Clicking on website settings, and we'll see a lot more of this in the near future. We have the logo. So this is the logo that we see up here in the top left. We have the favicon, which is the item you see up here on each of these tabs, or you'd see on your bookmarks. We have elements like the time zone, the state. Some of these might already be set up because we already have circulation running on here. So obviously the time zone is something we wanted to set up for circulation. So that one will be preset up on here. But then there's other elements like how long pinned pages work by default. Right now it's set to a default of 1 day, but maybe you want, when you pin a page, it's going to be up there for a week. These are the types of options that we can adjust in website settings, as well as an example, maybe we don't want articles mid-story. Maybe we only want an article once mid-story, and then 10 paragraphs down, we're going to see a second. These are fully customizable based on what you guys want for how ads are displayed on the website. We can go through this more at a later date, but just glossing over how some of these different configuration settings work. We have different payment processing configurations, different integrations with, say, Facebook, Google Ad Manager, Apple, MailChimp, or Second Street. If those are things that you use, we can set up those third-party integrations so that you can send content from here. Social media integration, whether or not you want customers to be able to share to Twitter, share to Facebook, the Facebook URL that you're using on Facebook or Twitter, so that we can have content linked to that from the website. Or basic email information, what the reply to email. Here we have our Morse technology, no reply email set as the default, but on Morning Sun, you're probably going to want a Morning Sun email that when a customer gets any email from the website for whatever reason, maybe their card was declined, what's that email going to say to that customer? Probably morningsun.net. Template settings, again, we talked about that really briefly too. Again, these are really setting up different templates on the website. What's a customer going to see when they hit the paywall? What are they going to see in their account? Maybe we want some special links in there. We can set up that. The label that's on advertisements, we can customize, as well as elements in the expert sections, business directory, or global settings as well. So, glossed over a whole range of content today. Half of it's probably in one ear, out the other. That's fine. But hopefully this gave a good view of everything that we're going to have to configure and everything that we're putting in your guys' hands. So you're going to obviously be able to contact me and, hey, Mason, last week you showed me paywall settings, and I have no idea how to set those up. We're going to probably set those up together on Thursday, but you can always contact us for assistance. But otherwise, we're handing the keys to your Morning Sun Kingdom over to you guys, so that you're going to have control of this in the future. If you want to change your paywall settings 12 months from now, this is where you're going to do it, and this is how you can do it. And you're going to have this video, the training on MTechU, to help you through that process. But hopefully going through this together will allow you to remember how you can change this in the future. Before we move on from this lengthy demo of all the content on here and how you can use it, do you guys have any questions at all?
Is there a way to preview like some of these paywall settings? Or is there an easy way to preview what it'll look like actually on a page, or is it one of those things you just have to kind of save it?
That's a great question. You would have to save it. The way I always suggest is the training website. I know I've said that half a dozen times already. I think it's a great option. If you want to see what it looks like, set it up on the training website. Go to the training website in the incognito tab, check it out, see what it's going to look like when you hit the paywall.
Okay.
If you want to test out an order tunnel, set it up on the training website, go on there. On the training website, you can even go through the subscription and try to subscribe. Again, the training website is the best place to test out anything that you might want to see. How is this going to look? You obviously are going to have thoughts on what your customers are going to want to see. Whatever these default settings are, they're not necessarily bad, but you're going to want your own messaging to your customers. Okay. That took up the majority of our time today. But we still got some more time. Why don't we start on a little configuration just to get the ball rolling? We'll do most of it on Thursday, but then we can kind of get the gears moving a little bit. Is anyone willing to be our screen sharer for the team today, doing a little bit of configuration and sharing their screen as we go through that process?
I can try.
Excellent.
Let's see.
Okay, there should be a share button up in the top right.
And we're
then
doing this on our actual site or the training site?
on your actual site.
Okay.
Great question.
Let's see. You.
The first couple things we set up are going to be like our sections. So we might as well get those set up right where they need to be. But when we're doing the styles and stuff, we probably want to do it on the training website.
Let's see. Okay. Oh, did it work?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. There's that login and my password.
And it does look like you're sharing the window. So just so you know, if you open another window, we're not going to see that one. We're only going to see the Morning Sun window you're sharing right now.
Okay.
Which is fine. I'm just making sure you know if you're looking at something off the screen, only we can see this screen. Okay. So, taking a look at our Trello board checklist, the first item we have on our agenda is creating sections. So if we go to pages, where all the pages of the website are located, and we click on that home page we have, that's going to pull up our home page. This is everything that's in it. It's not a whole lot yet, but we can use add child page to create new section pages for the website. I'm not sure if anyone has a list of exactly what these sections are going to be, or if you guys are going to have to think about this a little bit. Again, this kind of gets to the point where you guys are taking the reins and I'm kind of helping steer the ship.
Okay. I guess, well, let me pull up the current website and see what that looks like.
Great idea. It might be best just to replicate what we already got.
Yeah.
We can always make changes in the future.
So it looks like, I guess, an obituaries tab.
I should pull it up myself too so that I can see. Sun.net. Yeah, looks like news, sports, obituaries, opinion, lifestyle, entertainment. Looks like quite a few have their own subsections too. So it looks like we got quite a few to make. We might as well start with the big ones: news, sports, obituaries, opinion. Go ahead and click on the section page.
Section page.
Perfect. Then we can enter in the title, which is going to be whatever is displayed right up at the top. And it's going to automatically create that URL. So morningsun.net/news.
Okay.
And we can make changes to this in the future as to display filters, but let's just keep it simple at first. And we can go right down to the options to save down at the bottom. If we click that arrow, for our purposes, we're setting up the sections. So I'm going to say, let's go forward and publish these immediately. But in the future, we might want to save a draft and preview it in advance.
Why don't we do the same for sports?
Yep. Why don't we knock out a couple of these and then we can set up that main menu and see how it looks.
Slowly getting through them all. Let's see. Oh, that's the wrong one. Section.
I've gone through this quite a bit with a lot of different people. I can tell when somebody's got web surfing skills. I've seen people take 20 minutes to do what you just did in 60 seconds.
Yeah, I'm glad I started copying right from the website. Should this be e-edition? Maybe? Okay.
The e-edition one might be one we want up on the flat menu, up by account.
Yep.
But again, that's a creative decision that you guys can make.
I think that'd go better on the flat top. And I just delete them. That way.
Yep, you can just delete it if we don't want it, and it's gone.
All right, I think that's all the sections.
Okay, let's set up the main menu first time. We're gonna want to add subsections and stuff, but let's get this set up so that we can at least see a baseline of what we got to work with here. if you go to settings, and we got the main menu in there on the left-hand navigation menu. Main menu. Yes. Then we're just adding these items and linking to those pages. And they're within the home page. So you don't want to click on the home page. You want to click the arrow. Perfect. And that's typically how we nest content. There'll always be an arrow. So if it's a subsection, we need to go to the home page, then the section, then select the subsection. Or if it's an article, homepage, section, subsection, then the article. It's always nested. I believe this one had a drop-down menu, so we're going to want that allow submenu on this one. But I think we have it in all caps on your current homepage.
Yep.
We can change that link text here to all caps if we want it. We can type in news in all caps there, so it looks exactly the same. But again, creative decisions that you guys can change at will. And then add menu item right below it, and we can just knock through all these. Looks like obits, opinion, and lifestyle do not have drop-down menus, so we probably want to turn those off for these ones.
Okay.
And entertainment does have a drop-down menu,
Okay.
but real estate does not.
All right. And then just save it.
I would make sure we have the same link text for all of them. I know
Right.
we added the capitals for the first few. It'll look a lot odd if they're half caps, half not. Then whenever you're done with that, feel free to save it, and then why don't we go to the home page and take a look at it. You can always go straight to the URL, but if you go to pages and homepage, there will be a view live button that will take us directly to it.
I guess we didn't say that. Okay. Yeah. I think it's all there.
Perfect. Okay, so subsections, I suppose we might as well move on to getting some of those set up. Why don't we start with news? Looks like we got local news, state news, national news, and world news. So now we want to go into the news section. So if you click on the news section, sorry, if you go up to the top, click news all the way up there. Yep, perfect.
Okay.
So now, just like the homepage, we're inside of the news section. We can click add child page and make those 4 subsections. And the subsection is just a section page.
Okay.
Just by being inside of a section, that makes it a subsection.
Okay.
Okay, why don't we head? You could even view the new section live. The top of the menu will be everywhere, so we can. Perfect. And we
Do I
get
need those to be capitalized on the page settings?
they are capitalized on the um, on your current top of a menu. So if we change the title of those pages to be in all caps, that'll make it all uniform. If
Okay.
that's what we want.
Might as well do it right, I guess. Okay.
Okay, and then why don't we knock out the sports and entertainment ones, and then I figure that's probably a good a place as any to call it a day. Then we can do most of the configuration when we meet Thursday.
Does somebody else want to try this?
You're doing such a good job.
Okay.
We'll take turns Thursday. We'll have a whole day of doing this together instead of listening to me talk all day. Hopefully, some of the other elements will be a little bit more exciting, setting up with the color scheme, determining how it all looks, picking a font, a little bit more interesting than typing in a couple titles over and over again. But got to get the basics out of the way.
Okay. That's all right.
Okay. Then before we all hop out, I'm going to share the Trello board real quick. So, we did the webmaster configuration. As we go through these, we're going to want to mark each of these items complete. I'm going to do these first ones because you guys haven't done this before. But going forward, whoever's doing them should be marking these off as we go along. So we replicated the section pages, we replicated the subsection pages. We started with those basic items, but we're going to have a lot more items going forward, going through these lists on Thursday and subsequent days if we need more. But I think we covered a lot today and got a good start. I look forward to working with everybody on Thursday to start getting this all set up. Any questions or anything for me before you guys head out?
I just know that I would like a recording, definitely, of the video.
Will do. I'll download this and upload it so that everybody can see it, and it'll be up there forever. So even a year from now, if something pops up, we can always go back to it.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, then I hope everybody has a great day. I'm sure you got busy schedules. I don't want to hold you too long.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Bye, guys.